The stars are right, and that means it's time for another episode of The Whisper in Darkness. I'm your host, the Man from Lang. Thank you very much for joining me today. On this episode, I am reviewing the Guardian cards in Heart of the Elders, the third Mythos pack in the Forgotten Age cycle. I'm battling a cold this week, so we'll see how long my voice holds up. I decided to do things differently for this set of reviews since I have fallen behind the release schedule a little bit. The reviews for the Guardian, Seeker, and Rogue cards will be released today, while the reviews for the Mystic, Survivor, and Neutral cards will follow in a day or two. There are only 8 player cards in the next Mythos pack, the City of Archives, which came out last week. So with any luck, I should be back on schedule within the month or so. There are spoilers throughout if you care about that sort of thing. If you enjoy what you hear, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Without further ado, let's get started. The first Guardian card in the pack is Intrepid. It's a skill with 1 willpower skill icon and the innate trait. It has the game text, if this skill test is successful, add Intrepid to your play area as an asset. With the text, you get +1 intellect, +1 combat, and +1 agility. Forced at the end of the round, discard Intrepid. Now, Guardians have received a lot of cards with the bold keyword, which encourages investigators to play the card as early as possible during the round, in the case of a card like Take the Initiative, or forces them to play them as their first action on their turn, as is the case with Mano a Mano, Scene of the Crime, or Second Wind. Now, Intrepid doesn't have the bold keyword, but it might as well have. If you want to leverage those skill value bonuses, you really need to commit it to a skill test as early as possible during a round. Preferably during a skill test during the Mythos phase. That means you need to draw a treachery that forces you to make a willpower skill test. Now, willpower skill tests are common on treacheries, but as far as I know, there's no way to draw one on demand. If you're playing solo, that means there's no guarantee that you will be able to commit Intrepid to a skill test during the round when you would like to take advantage of its bonuses. Your odds of committing Intrepid to a skill test during the Mythos phase improve somewhat if you are playing multiplayer, although you need to be at the same location as an investigator who draws the treachery. Again, there's no guarantee that you will be in the right position unless someone has tinkered with the encounter deck with a card such as Scrying. If you're unable to commit Intrepid to a willpower skill test during the Mythos phase, you can try to commit it to a skill test made by another investigator during the investigation phase before your turn begins. To do that, you need to be playing multiplayer, and at least one other investigator in the party needs to be playing cards that require willpower skill tests. Now, this isn't an insurmountable obstacle, but it does require a lot of coordination on the part of the players to make sure the Guardian is in the right position at the right time to commit Intrepid. Mystics and off-class Mystics are the only class that routinely makes willpower skill tests during the investigation phase, so unless there is a mystical investigator in the group, you could be out of luck. If you are unable to commit Intrepid to a skill test during the Mythos phase or another investigator's turn, you will have to do it as early as possible during your turn, which is not going to be easy for most Guardians, with the exception of Carolyn Fern, who may include Mystic cards in her deck. Guardians have few ways to make willpower skill tests on demand. In fact, I can only think of a couple of ways off the top of my head, those being a skill test on a scenario card or a parlay action. That doesn't leave you with many options to get Intrepid into play early enough during your turn so you can take advantage of its bonuses. Long story short, your ability to control Intrepid's timing is going to be quite limited. Guardians have only one card that lets them control what they draw from the encounter deck, that being On the Hunt, and it pulls enemies, not treacheries. Now, you may be able to work on something out with another investigator in the group, so you can commit Intrepid, but that's going to be very situational. If you want to wait until your turn, your options are going to be even more limited unless you're playing Carolyn Fern or splash for Mystic cards such as Scrying and Zoe Samaras to rig the encounter card draw. So basically, nailing Intrepid's timing is going to be a very tall order. It's worth noting here that Intrepid has the innate trait, so you can play it in a SILAS Marsh deck. SILAS has several tricks to manipulate skill cards, but I don't think they really overcome Intrepid's limitations. He still needs to commit it to a successful willpower skill test, which is going to be difficult when you've got a willpower skill value of 2, and Intrepid is contributing only a single willpower skill icon to the test. I really hate to start off my review on a negative foot, but I'm really not a fan of Intrepid. Those skill value bonuses seem really good until you realize how many hoops you have to jump through in order to get Intrepid into your play area. It boils down to a matter of timing, and it's going to be difficult to commit Intrepid to a skill test during the round when you expect to need it the most. It's far more likely that you're going to commit Intrepid during a subpar round when you're not going to be able to leverage those bonuses as much as you would like. If Intrepid had a wild skill icon rather than a willpower skill icon, this would be a very different review. If you're playing Carol Infern or multiplayer, Intrepid may be worth a look. Otherwise, unfortunately, I don't think Intrepid is worth the hassle or the card slot for the time being. The second Guardian card in the pack is Custom Ammunition. It's a 3-cost event that costs 3 experience points. It has a combat and agility skill icon and the upgrade, supply, and blessed traits. It has the game text fast, play only during your turn, attached to a firearm asset controlled by an investigator at your location, place 2 ammo on that asset, limit 1 per asset. Attacks performed by attached asset deal +1 damage against monster enemies. If you're an investigator packing heat, running out of ammunition in the middle of a firefight is the stuff of nightmares. Fortunately, several cards have been released that add ammo to assets in play, and each takes a slightly different approach to the problem. Extra Ammunition, a Guardian event from the core set, lets you place 3 ammo tokens on a firearm at your location for 1 experience point and 2 resources. It's a simple yet effective solution that sets the bar for the cards to come. Contraband, a rogue event from the Miskatonic Museum, lets you double the number of ammo or supply tokens on an asset at your location. That seems like a great idea until you realize that Contraband is one of the most expensive events in the game at 4 resources. Venturer, a Guardian asset from the Forgotten Age, also costs 4 resources, but you can generate 3 ammo tokens with him, which is on par with Extra Ammunition. The nice thing about Venturer is that he's also a warm body with 2 health and 2 sanity. If you're on the losing end of a firefight, Venturer is more than happy to step into the line of fire and take a few hits for you. Now, Custom Ammunition was spoiled by the Drawn to the Flame podcast, and it explores some new design space for ammunition. It costs 3 experience points and 3 resources, which is quite significant for a Guardian event. You also only get 2 ammo when you attach Custom Ammunition to your firearm, which is slightly below the bar set by Extra Ammunition. However, every ammo token on the attached asset deals +1 damage against enemies with the monster trait, which is quite fantastic. If you play Custom Ammunition with a vanilla 45 automatic from the core set, you get 6 shots at +1 combat that hit for at least 3 damage. If you attach Custom Ammunition to your lightning gun from Lost in Time and Space, you've got 5 shots and at +5 combat skill value that hit for at least 4 damage. Now you can also play Custom Ammunition on any firearm asset, so the 41 Derringer Chicago Typewriter and Lupara from Dim Carcosa are also legitimate targets for this card. That said, I have a feeling that Extra Ammunition and Custom Ammunition are sort of geared toward different decks. Extra Ammunition costs fewer experience points and resources, which makes it more appealing for decks that are spending a lot of experience points and resources on high-powered weapons, such as the lightning gun. Custom Ammunition, on the other hand, costs a lot of experience points and resources, which makes it a better choice if you've decided to stick to vanilla weapons, such as the 45 automatic or the 38 Colt, but you still want to give them a boost as the campaign wears on. Of course, this is just a thought I had. If you've earned enough experience points to afford the lightning gun and custom ammunition, just knock yourself out. Might as well go ahead and buy both of them. Custom ammunition's damage bonus applies only to enemies with the monster trait. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your point of view, enemies with the monster trait are quite common in all 4 campaigns that have been released so far. There are at least 10 enemies in the core set with the monster trait, while there are at least 5 enemies with the monster trait in the Forgotten Age cycle, including that nasty Harbinger of Velusia. It's a safe bet that your custom ammunition isn't going to go to waste, regardless of the campaign that you're playing. Like extra ammunition and contraband before it, custom ammunition does have the supply trait, which means you can attach this card to stick to the plan before you draw your opening hand. If you play custom ammunition in combination with emergency cash, prepared for the worst, and prepared from the worst, from Blood on the Altar, both of which also stack on stick to the plan, you can search your deck for a firearm and quickly attach custom ammunition to it to maximize the amount of damage from every one of those shots. Speaking of traits, custom ammunition is currently the only non-mystic card with the Bless trait, so you may put this card in a Father Mateo deck. Now, Father Mateo can't use firearms, at least at this point, so custom ammunition won't see play in any solo Father Mateo builds. However, if you are playing multiplayer and your Father Mateo deck is gravitating towards playing a support role in the group, custom ammunition is an interesting option to explore. Father Mateo can even purchase this card with his bonus experience points at the beginning of a campaign, providing an easy way to boost a Guardian's damage output if you expect to face a lot of monster enemies in the opening scenarios. Guardians have received several cards with the upgrade trait this cycle, and that trait is quickly becoming one of my favorites. That probably has a lot to do with the fact that a reliable machete helped Zoe Samras take down you-know-who during the Path to Carcosa. Custom ammunition costs quite a bit more than either trusted or reliable from the Forgotten Age, both in terms of resources and experience points. However, that +1 damage bonus is going to be hard for Guardians to pass up, since cards that inflict bonus damage are exceedingly rare. If you're playing a Guardian who prefers firearms to the machete, and you need to take down enemies such as Silas Bishop, the Beast of Aldebaran, or the Harbinger of Velusia, then custom ammunition is going to make that job that much easier. That's going to do it for my review of the Guardian cards in Heart of the Elders. It's a hit or miss for Guardians in this pack. Intrepid is one of those cards that looks really appealing at first glance because of all of those skill bonuses, but it rapidly loses its luster once you take a moment to think about how and when you're going to be able to play it. I love skill value bonuses as much as the next player, but I love being able to control when I get them a little bit more. Timing Intrepid is going to be a challenge for most Guardians, with the possible exception of Carolyn Fern, who can use cards like Shriveling that require willpower skill tests. As for custom ammunition, I quite like the idea of generating extra ammunition and a damage bonus with one card. Enemies with the monster trait are fairly common in most campaigns, so if you're using a firearm, custom ammunition is worth a look, especially if you've already purchased Stick to the Plan. Custom ammunition may also be worth a look if you want to stick with your vanilla weapons and you don't feel like spending the experience points on a lightning gun, and you just want to give your weapons a little bit of a boost as the campaign goes forward. That's going to do it for me today. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you need to contact me, I can be reached at manfromleng@gmail.com. I'm also on Twitter at manfromleng. Until the stars are right, keep your shotgun close and your elder sign closer. Take care out there, and happy investigating.